For many speakers, the action list is the heartbeat of their operation. An operation that feels well run to your customers will have a series of standard actions for you or your staff to complete on a timeline for every conference keynote, virtual webinar, or live breakout workshop that you pursue or contract. Professionals typically have 20 to 30 standard actions for each event. Things like booking travel, confirming the hotel, sending the contract, confirming receipt of payment, sending thank you notes and follow-up surveys, and many more. These things are proven to happen more reliably when they are automated. EventCX users frequently name the action list as one of their favorite features. Used effectively, the action list organizes your systems and makes sure that every single thing required for an event is accomplished on time, making you a pleasure to do business with, and letting you focus on more important things, like your next keynote. The action list is where you keep all the to-dos to be done for each type of engagement. As soon as you have a date for a potential or confirmed gig, select the right action list and let EventCX specify when they should be done and who should do them. For example, send the agreement to the client 1 day after the hold is placed, assigned to Bill. Or book airfare 4 weeks in advance of the event date, for confirmed events only, assigned to Mary. Or signed agreement received 2 weeks before the event date, for confirmed events, assigned to Mary. Or send a thank you letter 1 week after the event date, for confirmed events only, assigned to Bill. The triggers that create and delegate each task on the action list are decided by you on the master action lists that get applied to each new individual event. You trigger the action items when an event is held or when it's confirmed. Applicable items will be applied when you put the hold on the calendar. And when you upgrade it to a confirmed date at a later time, then the items that you set to trigger for the confirmed status will then be added to the event's action list automatically. On the master action list, you can set items to be due a set number of days before or after the event date. Your EventCX account includes a default action list, but to be effective, you'll want to customize the standard list and add additional lists for different types of engagement. For example, an action list for an on-site keynote is generally different than the action list for a 2-day workshop or a virtual event. Like all good to-do lists, the action list will pester you when it's time to get something done, and it does this in a few ways. EventCX sends a daily email to each member of your staff who has at least one item due today. The daily email aggregates all of their due items across all of your events and sends them in one email, so they know exactly what to do. On the EventCX dashboard, there's a list of upcoming actions with their due dates and color-coded status. If I click on one of these, then I can see the action list. For any particular event, you can see which action list is selected, the upcoming actions due for the event, as well as all the actions that have been completed. Now, because different types of events require different things that you and your team need to do, EventCX allows you to create separate action lists for each type of event that you provide. Only one action list at a time applies to any one event. You can choose the action list when you create the event, and you can also change it at any time later. To change the action list for an event, when looking at the Action List tab of the active event, use the drop-down above the list of items to select a different action list. After choosing a different list, you'll be asked if you want to clear the current list or keep them on the list. When an item has been completed, you can just check the box. This lets your team know what's complete and also keeps notes for yourself. Now, if you notice, when this upcoming item is due in July, if I click the box to say this is done, it changes the date to today. The date on incomplete items means the date that it's supposed to be done. And the date for complete items means the date that it was completed. Occasionally, an item from your action list will not apply to a particular event, and you can delete those items by pressing this X here on the side. Click Delete, that confirms removal, or you can click Cancel to keep the item. If you've invested the time to configure your master lists carefully, applying that list to an event will usually have every to-do item that you need. However, exceptions may require you to add an unusual item to a specific event. You can do this by selecting a date for when it's due, assigning who it goes to, and clicking this Add button. And you can add these items one at a time. But if you find yourself adding the same action frequently, consider adding it to your master list by hitting this link up here to customize master list. To modify the master action lists, in addition to clicking the link that I just showed you, you can also go to Settings under your username in the upper right-hand corner, and then go to the Action Lists tab. You can create several action lists to accommodate the different types of engagements. To create a new master action list, scroll down to the bottom of this list and click New List. I'm going to name this as the new list and click Add. Now, in order to get to this new list I created, I have to scroll down and find it in this list and click on it. And now I can create as many items as I like. Send the invoice is the first one, and I'm going to do this when the event is held. It's normally due either a number of days before the event starts, after the event starts, or after the event is held. So I'm going to say this is due 1 day after the event is held. We should send the invoice out. I can select who's usually responsible for this. It might be the person who enters the event or the speaker. And so let's say I want the person who enters the event to be the one who's assigned to this action. So now send the invoice with these parameters will be applied every time I select the new list. After you save an item, you can continue adding as many items to the list as you'd like. If you have a lot of items in your list, you can drag and drop them so that you have them in order of priority or date due. If you want to change existing master action lists to modify them in the future, you can just edit this template. If you know that getting the sport team logo in slides is no longer necessary, you can just click the X button to remove it, but you do need to click Save at the bottom to save your changes. Now, it's important to note that changes to master action lists only affect new applications of the list to an event. No past events that use the old list will be changed in any way, unless the list is reapplied to the event, like when the event status or the date changes, or you manually reapply the action list to the event. Make a new action list for an upcoming event right now and see for yourself how much this system can keep your business organized.